At BlizzCon 2016, Blizzard announced the Overwatch League, which is seen by many to be the next big step that esports needed to take. The league is going to be franchised and will be pursuing the same path as more traditional sports by creating permanent region-based teams. What this means is that essentially teams are going to bid to have a permanent spot on the league and thereby will not have to worry about being knocked out from future leagues. If it works the same way as traditional sports, then teams should also be getting a percentage from a lot of the revenue earned by the league, especially the revenue earned by selling broadcasting rights for the league to various entities such as TV broadcasting channels, or even for that matter studios like Beyond the Summit in Dota 2, etc. This will actually be bringing in a big influx of money into the esports industry in the form of sponsors, merchandise, potentially even tickets really. But I will be getting into that in a little while in slightly more detail. The exact way that it'll work hasn't really been announced, but Blizzard has come forward and said that all prospective players are going to be brought together in a combine before the season starts in order for team owners to have their pick from the players by offering them spots on their team. Kind of like the NFL basically. So essentially, a couple of hundred players are going to be gathered together to be drafted into various teams. How those players will be selected to come together is something Blizzard has really yet to announce. Although they have hinted towards building your personal brand and playing third-party tournaments to help increase your chances. So if any one of you out there is an inspiring pro, then you should start making your YouTube channel. You should start trying to climb up in the ladder and just trying to be as good as you can be while getting as many people to watch you as you can. All players will have contracts with a certain base salary and benefits that the team owners will be obliged to provide to them. It still is somewhat unsure how exactly they will be catering to this. Will Blizzard be giving team owners a particular stipend for this, or will it be some other system? We've still yet to be told by Blizzard themselves. The actual amount of the salaries, etc. is also yet to be disclosed. However, since League of Legends players currently have a minimum of $25,000 a year as salary and have team owners trying to bargain for six figures, we can safely assume that it will be upwards of $50,000 per year. This is only a minimum, and it wouldn't really be too big of a surprise to see some pros raking in the high six figures range early on if they have a big enough established brand. People who come to mind immediately would be former Counter-Strike pros or personalities like Josh Nissan and Summit G. Then again, these players aren't really those who are considered the very best of the best. However, you get what I'm basically trying to say. Although this is great for the players, good contracts aren't really news, with Riot already having introduced them to the esports scene. There are two really big changes that this league has the potential for bringing about. And those are that exactly how the money will be entering the scene and how the fan structure of esports will be changing. We'll talk a bit about the fan structure before moving on towards the money itself. So first of all, the glaringly obvious changes to the fan structure are something that I'm actually very interested in, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing exactly how they'll be shaping out. For the purpose of this segment, I'm going to be referring to fans of particular teams as their customers. Right now, the customer equity in esports is incredibly low compared to traditional sports. Customer equity can kind of be explained as to how long a customer is going to stick to your brand. So in easier terms, how long you're going to be able to keep fans dedicated to your brand. It's not the exact definition, but for the purpose of this video, it will make do. So, what's the problem with the current structure? Well, the current problem that exists is simply that people don't really follow teams in esports, they follow players. The only teams that come to mind that have an incredibly dedicated fan base are teams that are basically complete legends in their games. Ninjas in Pajamas and Fnatic come to mind for CSGO, both of whom have in their heyday won so many tournaments, it's absolutely ridiculous. While Dota has Na'Vi, which managed to finish top 2 in 3 consecutive internationals, which were all respectively at their time the biggest esports events that they were. And Evil Genius is another brand which has just been there for the past basically forever in Dota 2 at least. And when you consider the flip side, even teams with amazing Cinderella stories which normally fans flock towards, like Digital Chaos, which placed second in the largest esports event of all time as of 2016 after scraping their way through qualifiers. They don't really have that much fan devotion to their cause at the end of the day. This problem is largely going to be mitigated with the introduction of geographically locked teams. That's where you're no longer just supporting specific players and hoping for their success. You're basically getting behind your city team and cheering it on. Obviously, there will be players who are adored beyond measure, but those will be a lot rarer and will sort of be like the LeBron James of the esports world, like Faker for League of Legends. This does also mean that teams have to worry a lot less about maintaining a fan base that could crumble apart just from a temporary slump with their results tanking. The most recent example of this would probably be SK in CSGO, who despite winning 2 majors this year, still, now that they're in a bit of a slump and they're coming top 3, top 4 instead of top 1 every single tournament, a lot of their fans have actually deserted them. While if you compare this to something like football, where you have teams like Arsenal who have been mediocre for the past so many years and people still are die-hard fans of them, even here in Pakistan where there's basically no geographical, I don't really know geographical, but geographical ties, let's just put it like that. It's no secret that this is a big step in the right direction for teams to be able to have a steady audience to present to sponsors. So speaking of sponsors, how does money currently enter the industry? According to Monte Cristo and his videos, which explain a lot of the details of team ownership in esports, money comes in almost entirely from sponsors of the team. I'm going to try leaving a couple of links over towards the sidebar around here. So if any one of you actually wants to try and check out what exactly his videos are, be sure to click the thumbnails and you will be taken to them. So already we start to see a huge difference from traditional sports, where most of the money comes in from getting a share of the revenue from selling broadcasting rights and other revenue split amongst teams that own equity in the particular league. Now, I already mentioned before that there would be a very large influx of money, and I don't just mean from broadcasting rights. As of now, it is very difficult to say exactly how much money will be coming in through that avenue, so we're going to ignore it for the time being. Currently, there are 2 kinds of sponsors in the esport community: endemic and non-endemic. Endemic sponsors are those that originate from the industry itself or very close to the industry. So we have smaller brands like HyperX, Asus, and other technology related companies. Non-endemic sponsors are the real big boys of the corporate world. That's where the massive brands outside of the industry like Nike, Coca-Cola, and more start to come in. The only recent foray that I can remember into esports by companies similar to this would be at E-League, and that had televised broadcasts, so it's a completely different ballgame. So why aren't non-endemic sponsors actually coming into this particular industry? If you look at it on face value, we're about 250,000 people in just America who watch around an hour and a half a day. These are predominantly males between 18 and 35. That is an advertiser's gold mine. So why aren't they coming to us? Problems that non-endemic sponsors have endorsing teams as of now are specifically that there simply isn't a guarantee that teams will be able to make it to big events. You can get relegated from the LCS. Massive fan favorite brands like Ninjas in Pajamas might not be able to make it to the next CSGO major. Team Secret failed to qualify for the Dota 2 Boston major, and they're one of the best teams of all time in Dota 2. We're at such a point in esports where every region's qualifiers are so closely matched that it's really anyone's game to take the qualifying spot home. Although this is great for viewers, sponsors demand a lot more stability before they're willing to majorly invest into teams. Of course, exceptions do exist where sponsors outright buy equity or LCS spots, as it has been seen as a much more permanent investment. Specific examples come to mind like NRG, Team Dignitas, Team Liquid, and generally a lot of the teams in the LCS which have had NBA teams just buying their spots or buying the team outright. Overwatch introducing permanently owned team slots changes all of this completely. Team owners are going to be able to market their brands to sponsors much more effectively now that they have a guaranteed slot on the league, and will 100% of the time be able to guarantee X amount of matches that will be played and potentially even televised. Beyond this, outside of just sponsors, this is actually incredibly exciting because evidence suggests that a lot of the owners are going to be affiliated with sports teams or the NBA or basically any sport team in America, and therefore will have their own stadiums and a plethora of experience in garnering fans towards their teams. Put it simply, esports reach could increase massively and foray into territory where it's not just players who are interested in being spectators, but other people who have never played the game in their life could also be encouraged to come based off of old rivalries that cities and states have amongst each other. Outside of just bringing in new people, stadiums mean that since every single match is supposed to be played on LAN according to Blizzard, the possibility of a traveling league grows massively and allows for great production on maybe even the level of E-League for practically every single match in a very long season. Very exciting for the viewers as well. A lot of money is being thrown into this, and Overwatch does have some glaringly obvious spectator flaws that Blizzard needs to address before being able to properly capitalize on such a massive undertaking. Knowing Blizzards, I do not know Blizzard, but knowing Blizzard though, we're in good hands and the CGS Championship Gaming Series fiasco shouldn't happen all over again. To those of you who don't know what CGS is, it was a Counter-Strike event that was massively televised and ended up with about $50 million lost for the company. It was an absolute fiasco. If you don't know about it, I'll include an article towards the sidebar, and you can just click on it to find out more. The question that really needs to be asked now though is how exactly is this going to impact other esports if this operation succeeds? I'll be making separate videos for CSGO, Dota 2 and possibly League of Legends as well, although I'm not sure about that because I don't know much about League. In order to fully explain all the possibilities, be sure to like the video, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed and you would like to see more. Fair warning though, not all my videos are going to be this serious. On a final note, I'd love to hear all your opinions on how exactly you think Blizzard needs to move forward with this for it to be a success. Basically, what do you think Blizzard needs to change in the game to make it more spectator friendly? Be sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter. This is Tea Time, signing out.